Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. As I often say, the fastest way to become an idiot in this day and age is to read the tabloids. I'm not saying every person that starts their day with a read of the Daily Mail will eventually become an idiot. There's exceptions to every rule, but apparently most do. Right-wing propaganda is as common as seagull shit at Blackpool these days, and despite our media barons making it blatantly obvious that they intend to try and smear Labour out of office by bombarding the gullible gaslit goons of our nation with a daily diet of lies, it's a problem that Labour don't seem to be doing very much about, isn't it? The reason I make such an effort to avoid the likes of the Daily Mail, the Sun and the Telegraph isn't just because I don't want to become another of those aforementioned idiots that behave as if their brain has been boiled in right-wing piss. It's because they make me genuinely angry, and I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. I've seen what it's done to Reform voters. So imagine my surprise when I decided to take a quick look this morning and see how Keir Starmer's meeting with Donald Trumple's Skiltskin went, and found that not only did the front pages actually seem to be relatively accurate for a change, but they were also quite positive as well. It was almost like I'd gone back in time to an era when truth still mattered and there weren't a few million English idiots willing to let some of the literal worst people to ever live tell them what to think. I was shocked, I tell you. Shocked. I thought Starmer's meeting with Trump went better than expected, but I never believed the hacks at the Daily Mail would agree with me. Is this a key moment of change for the UK? Or Labour? Or Starmer's premiership? Let's have a little look at a few of the key points and see if we can find out right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I was shocked to discover that almost 40% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. I was inconsolable. You can go some way towards redressing the balance by just checking that you've subscribed, that you've rang the bell, and that you're hitting the like button before you go. It'll go just some way towards making this skinny old scouser a little bit more cheerful today. Thank you. Of course, we can't say for certain what was said in the back rooms before the two of them held their press event, but judging by Starmer's relaxed demeanour and Trump's normal exuberant buffoonery being on show, it seems it might have been quite jovial. Those that claim Starmer is incompetent, usually people who seem to think Nigel Farage is competent, seem to have been proven wrong again, because whether it came from his own volition or was the product of his advisors, Starmer played an absolute blinder and managed to come away from the meeting having avoided being belittled by the Mango Mussolini. He even managed to contradict him on one statement, just like Emmanuel Macron did when he met him. We'll come back to that. Trump is impressed by pomp and ceremony and likes nothing more than an excuse to performatively masturbate his own ego. So he was immediately disarmed to some degree when Starmer presented him with an invite from His Majesty King Charles for a second state visit to the UK. Starmer called it unprecedented and talked up the honour of dining with old sausage fingers himself. And Trump swallowed it faster than he would have done if it was a liquefied Big Mac. He's obviously too self-absorbed with his own importance to understand that inviting him to Balmoral in Scotland deftly avoids there being tens of thousands of protesters lining the streets in London. I don't doubt we can rely on the stoic, stalwart and frankly splendid people of Scotland to let Trump know exactly what they think of him, but Not only have we avoided unrest and a lot of inconvenience in the capital, but also likely saved a few £1,000,000 on policemen's wages as well. Now, of course, the right are absolutely furious that Starmer didn't fail, and one of the first comments I saw on social media this morning was some useless tool saying that the whole thing was a sham because Starmer didn't vociferously and publicly attack Trump in his own country after being invited there, with regard to Trump's stupid nonsense about Canada becoming the 51st state. However, as so many on the right side of politics are, this person was either ignorant or misinformed because Canada was mentioned and Starmer very diplomatically replied without causing further division. Trump clearly didn't want to talk about it and insisted on moving on to the next question. Tories and Reform voters being wronged on social media, that never happens, does it? Speaking of the right-wingiest of idiots, it soon became obvious that Trump was pulling out the rug from underneath Badenoch and Farage's latest smear campaign with regard to the Chagos Islands, despite the fact that the Tories actually began the process of returning the Chagos Islands to the Mauritians themselves. They have attempted to use it as a wet towel to beat Labour with in recent weeks. Trump, however, seemed absolutely open to the idea of resolving the issue in a manner agreeable to Labour. At that point, Nigel Farage, if he was watching, and wherever he was, probably had to put down his glass of Moët and Chandon and put his Havana cigar in the ashtray and take a deep breath and maybe even have a little cry about the loss of his latest smear campaign. Another point which stood out as possibly more significant than many realise was the moment in which Trump seemed to either pretend he had forgotten that he called Zelenskyy a dictator last week, or genuinely had forgotten. Either way, doesn't really bode well for his mental prowess, does it? He's either too stupid to realise that he not only said it on live TV, but also included it in one of his rambling and maniacal tweets, or he is so genuinely mentally challenged by age and senility that he actually forgot that he'd said it. This is a man who, before Biden stepped down and Kamala Harris stepped in, was intending to run his whole campaign on accusing Joe Biden of having dementia. Remember that? Another key moment occurred when Trump's sofa-shagging, eyeliner-wearing, hypocritical twat of a vice president attempted to jump in with a bit of disinformation about free speech. Bear in mind that J.D. Vance told a gathered group of right-wing fuckwits and fools last week that you can be arrested in the UK for praying outside an abortion clinic. I'd imagine Starmer is aware that Vance just tried to tell blatant lies about the UK, and I think it's a testament to tolerance and diplomacy that Starmer was even able to sit in a room with two men that have repeatedly lied about our nation, the nation he leads. But I suppose that is what we pay him for, isn't it? Quite well. Give him his due though. He interrupted Vance to remind him that we have a very long tradition of upholding freedom of speech in the UK, and we will continue to do so. Vance shut his trap after that. Nonetheless, I don't think any of us will be surprised if some absolute fucking helmet with a Reform UK logo next to his name leaves a comment below saying, "You can go to jail for a tweet in this country," in response to this video. Feel free to enlighten them, if so. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. I'd be very interested to know what you think. about Starmer's meeting with Trump, and if you agree with my sentiments on it, especially in the light of the meeting that Trump has had with Zelenskyy today. It was good to see Starmer have the confidence to correct Trump when he again tried to blatantly lie about Ukraine paying back funds it has received to assist itself in defending against Putin's illegal invasion. Diplomacy is one thing, but I personally would be rather disappointed if Keir Starmer had simply sat there and let Trump say things he knew were utterly untrue about Ukraine. Of course, a very high percentage of the bilge that flows from Trump's tiny, weird little mouth is bullshit. So Starmer clearly was never going to be able to correct or combat all of it, but I think it may have been a symbolic moment, showing that while Starmer and Macron acknowledge the strength of the US presidency, they aren't prepared to roll over and be complicit with Trump's fantasy reality. It was very interesting to see that they both made a point of contradicting America's first dictator on the same subject in quite a similar way. I think that might have been planned. I think Starmer might have been on the phone to Emmanuel Macron in the last few days. As I say, I went around a few socials this morning and I enjoyed seeing the twatterati of Twitter and such like gobbling their usual copium, and I was quite enjoying it for a few moments, but as Twitter is literally owned by a fascist Nazi propagandist, I quickly started to see posts from cock rockets like Patrick Christie, Lee Anderson, and of course Reform UK. I take medication for Crohn's disease every morning and I didn't want to vomit it up again, so I left Twitter and started writing the script for this video instead. I hope you think it was worth it. If you did, you can help the channel go faster and further by finding the links to PayPal, Patreon and my Buy Me a Coffee page, expectantly anticipating your attention in the descriptions box below. And of course, as always, the join button for memberships is also below. Of course, that isn't all I've got to say, but it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-la. As Emmanuel Macron, oh, for fuck's sake, Emmanuel Macron, le président. Come on.